The UN General Assembly voted overwhelmingly Thursday to denounce President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, largely ignoring Trump's threats to cut off aid to any country that went against him. The non-binding resolution declaring U.S. action on Jerusalem null and void was approved 128-9, a victory for the Palestinians, but not as big as they predicted. Amid Washington's threats, 35 of the 193 UN member nations abstained and 21 were absent. The resolution reaffirmed what has been the United Nations stand on the divided Holy City since 1967, that Jerusalem's final status must be decided in direct negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. The Trump administration made it clear the vote would have no effect on its plan to move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. An Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said afterward that he completely rejects the preposterous resolution. Palestinian Ambassador Riyad Mansour called the vote a victory not only for the Palestinians but for the United Nations and international law, saying U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley failed miserably in persuading only 7 countries aside from the U.S. and Israel to vote against the resolution. And they used unprecedented tactics, unheard of in the diplomatic work at the UN, including blackmail and extortion, he said. The United States and Israel had waged an intensive lobbying campaign against the measure, with Haley sending letters to over 180 countries warning that Washington would be taking names of those who voted against the U.S. Trump went further, threatening a funding cut-off, "Let them vote against us. Well, save a lot, we don't care." But in the end, major U.S. aid recipients including Afghanistan, Egypt, Jordan, Pakistan, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and South Africa supported the resolution. Egypt received roughly $1.4 billion in U.S. aid this year, and Jordan about $1.3 billion. The 9 countries voting no were the U.S., Israel, Guatemala, Honduras, Micronesia, Nauru, Palau, the Marshall Islands, and Togo. Among the abstentions were Australia, Argentina, Canada, Colombia, Croatia, Czech Republic, and Mexico. The absent countries included Kenya, which was the 5th largest recipient of U.S. aid last year, Georgia, and Ukraine, all of which have close U.S. ties. After the vote, Haley tweeted a photo naming the 65 nations that voted no, abstained or were absent, and said, "We appreciate these countries for not falling to the irresponsible ways of the UN." She later sent invitations to the 65 ambassadors inviting them to a reception on January 3 to thank them for their friendship with the United States. The U.S. is scheduled to dispense $25.8 billion in foreign aid for 2018. Whether Trump follows through with his threat against those who voted yes remains to be seen. But within hours, the Trump administration appeared to be backing away from its funding threats. In Washington, State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert said cuts to countries that opposed the U.S. are not a foregone conclusion. The president's foreign policy team has been empowered to explore various options going forward with other nations, Nauert said.